baby beard.
90s to a T.
Yeah.
If I see champagne, I will call it champagne.
Yeah. No, we got so many good episodes to watch.
Oh, wait, I'm getting it. Nope, changed my mind. Boo.
This is funny until you have it. No, but seriously, wave after wave of men.
In the future, there's an owl problem.
Sorry, but like, his name's huge ass.
Not
I
huge.
do listen to our podcasts.
I'm sorry. Blue whales on the moon.
We carry a harpoon. God damn, I hate that we said that.
Shut up and take my podcast.
Oh, it's like an echo.
Yeah, it's some sort of
Beautiful.
international
I had a
echo
good
going
echo.
Welcome, everybody, to Shut Up and Take My Podcast, the Futurama podcast that bits episode against episode in glorious bloody gauntlet until we find out which one is the better. I am Sean, and I'm joined here by Phil,
who was found sadly dead in his bathtub at the weekend.
by Ellen,
who was foraging for more boat eggs after this episode.
by Paul Salt,
Surprisingly dull so far.
by Paul Goodman,
Really showing people what a man with a cannon in his chest can do.
And Sean.
I'm pretty sure Bubblegum Tate is a robophobe.
Oh!
Throwing shade at
Controversy.
bubblegum.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know them by now, you're going to know them very, very shortly. These are the boys from the One Good Thing podcast. And boys, please tell all the boys and girls at home about One Good Thing.
Sure. One Good Thing is a podcast that finds the exceptional, or sometimes just acceptable, moments in the movies that the world has given up on, because we assert that no film is worthless.
It's almost like you read that off something. Or
Pre-prepared
I
remarks.
read it off the tattoo I have. On my face
That is a
in the
very
mirror.
sweet way at looking at shit media.
It is.
Someone's got to
So
do it
go-
because it's a pretty murky world out there.
Just full
Drive
disclosure,
safe.
we recorded this episode about a week ago, and things went to shit. So we bring it to you live and with double the Paul.
It's not live, by the way.
Well, no, not live at all. Live, but
And I'm also
delayed.
not
Tell
sure it's
them
entirely
that.
double the pool, because I'm at least twice as sleepy as I was when we did it last time. So,
Okay, so a roughly
you've got about a
equivalent amount
third
of
more pool, I'd say.
But you are twice the man though, so how does that work?
That's true. I did kill a man in the week, so
You ate his soul.
Is that how you
Courage.
become
became a proper
like
man.
more of a man? Is it
By-
like
by
Chronicles?
murder?
Yeah, Chronicles
is it a
of Riddick, where
philosophical-
you keep what you kill.
I was going
In
for
English.
Highlander, but sure.
Oh yeah, Highlander. Yep. Only
In
one.
English society, that's how it works.
That's how you
The
kill
only
the Lord.
one Englishman.
Sean, why
You'll
are
be
we
Prime
here?
Minister
So
next week.
we are here to talk about Season 3. This is going to be brutal. To talk about Season 3, Episode 14, Time Keeps on Slippin'. Does anyone know what that's in reference to?
A
Don't
song
do
I don't
this to
know.
me.
Well, I should.
I didn't know it
should
last time. Didn't
Pop
look it up
culture
for this one.
reference.
It is a pop culture reference.
Wasn't it Bob? No.
Yes.
I think Urkel
Is it
says
Bob
it
Dylan?
once.
It's not times are changing. It's not
No.
that.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's not the name of the song. It's just a lyric from
it's a
a
lyric.
song. Look, I refuse to know this.
Does he?
Look, we nailed this one. Let's keep moving on.
keep
Yeah,
going.
all right.
Director is Chris Loudon, back from Luck of the Friarish.
Aye.
I gesture to Ellen because you
likes
have a
the sad
particular.
ones.
I love things that will make me weep incessantly because I hate myself. So that's why I'm here.
Well, it's the final episode he did, so
Yeah.
that's I like to give a little fact, and that was the final episode he did for Futurama. So he
That
left
is
making you
kinda-
cry.
That is kind of sad. Maybe I'll squeeze one out for him. Ooh, don't like that.
Now,
The writer.
cry. Now, in
Yeah,
England,
a tear.
in England, that has a wildly different
Squeeze it
meaning.
out.
The writer for this episode was Ken Keeler, who's back from The Honking. He's my favorite writer, but here's the thing: he hasn't written a single thing since Futurama.
Really?
Aw.
He's got no credit to
Is he-
himself.
He realised his
He's
work was
homeless.
done and buried himself in a casket. Just
Like all true writers.
walled himself in.
It's like, what's that movie? Logan's Run? Where after you write...
Keanu Reeves.
No. It's where you can't
Oh my
live
god,
past
Keanu
30,
Reeves and
but
Logan's Run.
yeah, if you're a
gotta
writer,
happen.
you know,
Denis
the kind of
Villeneuve.
crystal starts beeping, you've written a few
2020.
good things, it's time to put you down.
Yeah.
I'm
It
thinking
was
of
Michael
going
York, in
mnemonic.
fact.
Mnemonic?
It was Michael York in the original Logan's Run. Austin Powers' boss.
Right. Well, at least we're in sci-fi. We're keeping in.
We're inching
the right-
closer and
the right
closer
territory.
to the point.
So this is an episode that aired on May the 6th, 2001, introducing one of the fucking weirdest guest appearances in sci-fi. When you think of guest appearances, you don't really think of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah. Well, they
Speak for yourself.
integrate it nicely in that they're all aliens. from a planet which we see
That was
later
convenient.
is a basketball.
I will have questions about that later.
Oh no! Don't pull threads.
But
Yeah, was it like
before-
nominative determinism that the planet looked like a basketball, so they became obsessed with it, or did they design the planet?
Is basketball like a cosmic constant, right?
It has to
that
be.
every society tunes into.
If we take Space Jam into account,
That's right.
And we must
Clearly
always take
Space
Space Jam into account.
obsessed with basketball. So
Paul, would you like to run down the plot? I forget which Paul, but one of the Pauls, please.
someone
Paul
take it.
said he would do that. Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. In an attempt to win a basketball game against an alien race of Harlem Globetrotters, the professor sends the crew to pick chronotrons so he can rapidly age his squad of atomic supermen. Unfortunately, this causes time to jump ahead at random intervals. They try to fix it doesn't work. Then they do fix it, and that does. Also, Fry continues his romantic pursuit of his friend and co-worker Leela with mixed results.
Excellent.
It sums it up.
Yeah.
I just have one question. What do we think, guys?
Well, the Space Jam bit's pretty funny.
I like how the reason that they've come is just for bragging rights. Like, there's nothing that you win from the competition.
They make it very
merely
clear.
It's merely so you can talk trash about each other's mothers.
Yeah. Like, from the very get-go, they pretty much say, hey, stakes, we don't need them.
But now, for no reason, we challenge you to defend your honor on the basketball court.
I mean,
No,
why do you
sorry,
think the
I need to
Independence
correct you
Day
there.
aliens
It's
were here?
actually raisin. Thank you very much.
For no reason.
Oh, I feel like such an idiot now.
No. Throwback.
Pauls, who are your favourite atomic supermen?
I think the last time we recorded this episode, we all actually unanimously agreed that the little spider guy is clearly the best.
Arachnus?
I like the man
Absolutely
with
the
the cannon in
best.
his chest.
Does he have a name?
Man with cannon.
Man with cannon and chest. What, is that name not good enough? It's the best name I've ever heard.
He's the one guy that Farnsworth has continually talked about for like 2 seasons. He talks about wanting to put chest cannons in Atomic
Robots
Superman.
and atomic.
Well,
Yeah. Blood out of
like all geniuses, he's prone to procrastinate. So there's a lesson there to be learned.
think the results
He's at
speak for-
home.
He may have
results speak for
made a race
themselves.
of atomic supermen last year and then forgotten about it. It's
Yep. Oh, he didn't
Sad thing
feed
is,
them.
though-
Oh no.
Sad thing is, though, the man with a cannon in his chest just wants to write poetry.
credited to a man with a cannon in his chest. And
Everything
the Nobel
signed
Prize for Literature goes to...
canon.
So there's
Hey,
something I
poetry
didn't
joke.
realize the last time I watched this, but at the very beginning there is a sign, and I just need to bring this up straight away because it's a very dark rule that Futurama seems to have, which is there's actually a petition for body dumping that you can sign up for in the lake. So when you first pan, they've got a petition that you can just write your name down and a time. So body dumping's allowed in the future.
Oh, so it's like, it's not a petition, it's like a schedule.
Yeah, it's like a schedule. It's like
You
a
can be
sign-up
like,
sheet.
I need to dump my body, I'll do it on Wednesday.
Yeah, as long as you're honest about it.
That's
Yeah, okay.
nicely efficient.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
right. And the cops
know-
can just wait.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do you know how many cases where people have to dredge rivers and
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
so many cases of not being able to find? If you just schedule it like that, it's much easier on the
You don't
cops.
bump into another guy that's also dumping a body at the same time.
Oh,
You've got
that'd be
privacy.
awkward.
Awful.
Come here often. I thought this episode was actually really great for Fry as a character in terms of, like, it's funny that the title gag is take the red pill, and I'm like, oh god, men's rights activists are gonna fucking either love or hate this episode.
I think it was before. It was
It
before that was a
yeah,
thing.
I
so-
mean, obviously watching back, because, you know, the patriarchy didn't exist back in 2001.
No, that's right. That's right.
It's relatively new.
Yeah, yeah.
a fact.
But I think it's a really awesome learning curve for Fry, because, I mean, as Bender kind of says nihilistically at the end, yeah, sometimes you want things and that doesn't happen.
It doesn't get them.
Bye.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. We should stop referencing this is
The episode that you would never hear.
I'm just going to start crying.
Yeah, that
We put it
that
so
his
well.
his tactics are quite poor. The idea that just a gesture will make someone marry you,
Yeah.
is quite
You'll
bad.
win a woman.
But also, I do think...
Yeah, win one.
I think Leela, I guess the common thing is, like, if Leela's mind could be changed just by grand romantic gesture, then how can she be so kind of hot and cold on him? But like anytime that we see like good romantic feelings between Leela and Fry, it's never him trying to change her mind. Because this whole episode, he's being a nice guy. I opened champagne for her. What more do you want? And he's trying to change her mind and kind of like affect her. But the times that she loves him most is when he just says how he feels.
Yeah.
Like the
Parasites or not.
Yeah, the candy heart.
Yeah.
You leave me breathless. The message
with
is
the whole-
I love you, Leela.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the hologram opera. That's all
That's
just
it,
him
yeah.
expressing like how he
Well, the
feels
idea-
for her. So then the
idea has
ball is in
always
her
been,
court.
The idea has always been that Leela really does like Fry, or at least the sort of weird inherent core of Fry. It's just that core is surrounded by the outer of Fry, and that is inherently
The fleshy
off-putting.
layers.
And that what Leela needs to do, what she needs to do, this is her homework, is she needs to go and look past that in order to get to the soft, gooey core of Fry, which is, great. And
gooey.
it's interesting, the
eloquent.
idea that, because I think last time we discussed that it's a little sinister the way Fry pursues Leela in this, the way he's
Yeah.
relentless
He's a
in the
very
face
nice
of no
guy,
encouragement.
TM.
Yeah, it's interesting, the idea that the episode doesn't approve of that. I always saw it as just, he's just not doing it enough. He needs to move stars, then it'll work. Just making a creepy love shack isn't quite the big enough gesture to win a woman.
There's this weird continuity idea that we had. Is like, if they saw the explosion, right, then,
Yes, I
then
like
she
this.
had to have seen the message. And so that maybe you can have it in your
chose.
headcanon that she saw it and she was like, she chose not to say anything about it.
Yeah.
She sees it and she knows and she goes, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't change it. Well, has she ever not known that
Yeah,
he's
that's right.
totally
Yeah.
head over heels in love with her? No, like...
You're that in love.
Oh, I knew you were like really in love, but move the stars,
Yeah.
love. Like that's just.
Can you spell it out for me?
Which is like,
Constellation.
it sounds grand, right? Moving the stars, but it's basically the equivalent of parallel parking 15
Or like just getting
Yeah.
a forklift and just move
actually, I think it's-
a crate.
You can't just
Yeah.
move stars about. Like, it's probably killed
I think you'll-
countless
I think you'll-
worlds.
That's right.
Oh, I just want to like sidetrack, but I do love how the conflict of this episode that moving the particles will fuck up time is
Yeah.
at first expressed by Bender and just cut off by Farnsworth. It's like a really nice way to do your exposition for like the way it's going to fuck up when Bender goes, "Oh, aren't those the particles that once destroyed that Earth?"
Good
Guys,
news, everyone.
Yeah. I like the way the message is you shouldn't fuck with things you don't understand, and then ends with Fry having moved dozens of stars.
yeah, exactly, right? It's not good for him.
I have a question. Are chronotons a thing as far as real world science,
you
or is
ask.
it just explicit? Because these guys have PhDs and they have, or is chronotons a thing? I know it's not accurate science.
In order to find out how it's spelt for my little plot summary, because it would drive me mad if no one else could hear it, I googled it and only got results from the Alpha database, which is the Star Trek wiki. So I'm guessing it's a Star Trek reference.
Well, time doesn't have particles because time is just
Yeah.
part of the curvature of space.
Brilliant.
I'm not going
Keeler
to
there.
explain that anymore. But space and time are one and the same. So,
Why are you harsh now, Buzz?
well, should we talk about the main plot a bit more? What?
A chronon. A chronon is a proposed quantum of time. That is a
Booyah.
discrete and indivisible unit of time as part of a hypothesis that proposes that time is not continuous. Okay, you guys carry on. I'll just
you
get to
go.
grips with this.
I like that.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you in 10 years.
According to general relativity.
We've kind of segged onto the main plot a bit more now.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. No. Fooey.
Talk more about chronons.
I like the way that time slipping is used in like a kind of meta way in this episode. There's some good time slip jokes, right? Where the one I referenced in my intro, which is the pop star who goes from like best-selling single to Grammys to Dead on the
Death.
Bus.
Yeah. Also, like, I mean, it's funny, but also, like, good social commentary there, Futurama. Like,
Yeah.
The thing that I noticed as well is because you're working, usual time travel stories is just the one person that's aware that it's happening. This is where collectively every character and every background character is aware that time has just skipped. I just need to give a gold star to the reporter because she is the consummate
Yes.
professional where it keeps skipping. She doesn't miss a beat. She
Yeah.
keeps reading that teleprompter.
God.
She knows time skipping. Like, that is, you do not fire her ever.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think, a
Morbo
really
couldn't keep
cool.
up.
It's quite a neat way of telling the plot and like poking fun at getting through all the really boring parts of a plot. And I thought it was really funny every time they're like, "Oh, we've got to come up with a plan to get the money to build this gravity gun.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long."
Oh,
and then
there
it
it is.
cuts forward. Oh, thank you. And then
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, now we've got to build it." Oh, there we go. And then it's like, now
Off
we've got to
you
do the
go.
arduous
Apparently.
task of connect. Yeah, that was an amazing line. That was a really neat little thing.
It's just great how, in the face of some astronomical sci-fi fuckery at all times, Farnsworth and the rest of them are just happy to go along with it. They're very willing to accept a lot of shit.
To be fair, they caused it. So.
Yeah.
To be fair, the algebra that they're doing is jive algebra.
No showboating algebra. Farnsworth's really against showboating in this
Yeah, he
episode.
hates
I
it.
love how he's a few notches up on the grumpy scale.
Well, he's a manager, and that's stressful.
I'm
right?
into it.
Yeah.
I really love
like-
that when he's a basketball manager, all he does is put on a tie with his lab coat, and that makes him a manager.
Yeah.
And he throws the chair onto the court about a foot.
I love that when the challenge is laid down with no consequences whatsoever, Farnsworth is just furious.
Yeah.
Like, someone's holding him
livid.
back. He's so angry that these guys have shown up and made accusations about Earth's basketball abilities. Like,
They're gonna talk jive about their fat, ugly mothers.
Put a small replica of Earth into the trash.
Which is like amazing theatrics. Like, that is spot on.
There's a lot of fiat. Look, my grasp on basketball's rules is tenuous at best. I'm pretty. Is butt touching Is butt
all
touching
sports.
illegal?
Yeah, all sports,
It's in
but
there.
touching is acceptable.
Oh, okay. The athletic butt slap. I should have known.
Yeah,
Why
we do
don't
it.
we
We
do
do
it?
it here at the podcast table as well. Myself and Phil regularly butt touch.
That's all the time.
They're doing it right now, actually.
Yeah, I think this is a good episode for Dr. Farnsworth. There's not so much in terms of like emotions or his backstory or anything like that.
Professor.
He's a doctor to me. You don't know him like I know him. So back off, Sean. So yeah, there's just loads of really, really good Farnsworth moments. Like specifically when they're talking about the doomsday weapons and he's like, now the ball's in Farnsworth's court. And he goes over to the little collection. He's like, I suppose I can part with one of these and still be feared. And it's like,
Such
it's
a
just
good
all
line.
of his amazing comedy strengths in this episode. It's just fantastic.
He might be
episode-
my favourite Futurama character
Really?
of the main cast.
Of the
I
main
have to
cast,
say,
sure.
yeah.
Farnsworth.
Yeah.
He's
I
nuanced.
just-
There's a lot of
whenever he-
questions there that we don't know.
Is he a supervillain?
Yes.
No, we know that one, yeah.
Is he just trying to please mum?
The
or
shrieking
does,
gorillas that he designed for her.
Or does Wormstrom just have a bigger collection, so he's trying to amass one to rival?
Yeah, very possibly. Who knows about the professor's inner motivations?
But
why
this
it's so
episode is really
fascinating.
good for like different character. Like every kind of character gets a little bit of a moment to shine here. Like it really shits on Zoidberg.
Yeah, there's a great
does.
Zoidberg thread. Isn't
Yeah,
there?
he's, but also I want to just point out, Zoidberg, that if you're so sad about everyone missing your party, maybe you shouldn't.
Listen?
Maybe you shouldn't tune out Leela when she's trying
Yeah,
to talk
that
to you.
was
and
weird.
say, I'm sorry, you must have bored me. Like,
Zoidberg is rarely a
week?
jerk.
yeah,
He's rarely a jerk, so it's unusual to see him do that. It's like, oh, is this why everyone hates him?
yeah, usually
he
he's
just
a
an
sad
asshole?
clown.
Yeah.
I think
He
more
is-
the
yeah,
point
he's the
is
butt
that
man.
Leela is being so astronomically boring in that section that
Even lovable Zoidberg.
nice, well-meaning Zoidberg has to switch on the TV.
You must have been really boring.
Yeah. And Amy's reaction to the world, like that time is out of order, is, oh, is it my outfit?
Yeah,
and
I
I do
love that.
want to say, Amy,
Yeah.
it's a fucking great
That was
outfit.
great.
Good outfit,
Yeah, I'd stop for it.
It's
Wearing the
Glover
outfit
Fry.
only for the purpose of that joke, but it's so different.
Yes.
To it's so much better than the what's that one from the first? Is it the first
sweatpants
series with the
and the
lime green
lime green tank top, yeah.
tank
Oh,
top?
yeah.
Yeah, it's so much better than that because it just more believable that she'd be wearing that at a at a like fancy
mean-
end of the world basketball game.
She can pull a lot of things off, that Amy, and
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
topless. She's
on the beach.
sunbathing topless
Yes.
at the very
yes.
beginning when
Yes.
someone's running away and goes back for
Does a
the-
little circle, little look around.
Weren't we at some
Bender's-
point told that modesty is a 20th century idea? Wasn't it the
Yeah.
episode where they all
that
go into
may
a
be in
sauna?
Farnsworth's head.
Yes, 'cause modesty went the way of the pine tree.
I love how Bender is just like the most annoying and actually he's a little kid in this episode. Like Leela goes with him to teach him cupcakes
For the bake sale?
Yeah, for the Harlem for the Globe.
Good thing it's not an audio only format.
Yeah, oh no. For the bake sale, he makes
Yeah.
his own costume. He just wants to be loved by them so
But
much.
he's just not funky enough.
Yeah.
He's just not funky enough.
There are three things
I would
that
just-
really gets Bender to be a sap. One is his love of folk
Yeah.
songs. One is
Yeah.
his love of the Harlem Globetrotters, and the other's Fry.
Yeah.
His love of Elzar.
Elza,
He's never a sap with
Elzar.
Elzar is the thing. With Elzar, it was always more of an obsessive fan relationship.
Yeah.
And Elzar was always a little bit scared of Bender, I
Very
think.
like notice me
Rightfully
senpai
so.
kind of thing.
In a way that Bubblegum definitely wasn't.
Yeah, it's more like SpongeBob and his relationship with Kevin, like being willing to punch himself with an iron gauntlet.
Just-
if anyone
just-
doesn't.
very quickly, Kevin.
Kevin, the sea cucumber.
I don't need the whole of SpongeBob explained to me. I really don't, just to
Yeah.
get that reference.
That's our other podcast.
Yeah, that's
going through every episode of SpongeBob
Introducing
SquarePants.
Yeah.
Phillips to SpongeBob, yeah.
I do like Bender in this episode. It's nice to see
It's
him.
nice to see him on the
without-
bottom of the pile, right?
Yeah.
Have his status
Yeah.
lowered. Yeah.
And also, get out of the way of the jets, Bender. the opening joke, cool your jets, Fry. No, they're melting Bender's face, and he's just like lying underneath them, like, like, get out the
That was a
way.
little contrived.
Also, you only started screaming after everyone was finished talking, which is very polite. And
There's no sound in space.
No.
It's a very scientifically accurate show.
Oh, yes.
Chronons.
Especially this episode.
Last time I was on this, I made a point where I compared Fry and Leela to like other sitcoms of the 90s, Will They, Won't They? And I'm just wondering if I want to say that or if it's worth saying it. Because we have
Was it
definitely
intelligent?
we passed the moment. I think I kind of said it anyway. It was just basically the idea that in most of those relationships, like with Niles and Daphne, Ross and Rachel, there were always like external elements that contrive to keep them apart. Like one of them will already be in a relationship. I'll do it now and you can just edit it in if you think it's relevant. Like they were already in a relationship. There's, something to keep them apart that isn't just them.
Distance, or, yeah.
Whereas the barrier here for Fry and Leela is Fry. He's
Fry
he's
is
the thing that's
objectionable
keeping
in
them
many
apart.
ways.
That's the obstacle they need to overcome for them to be together.
Fry is
Fry.
the cause and solution to the problem.
Yes. There's a bit of a thing in this episode is that there's this undercurrent constantly of Fry really wants Leela and he wants them to be together. But a lot of the time they just sort of get along. But there's no really no real explanation in this episode as to why he steps it up a notch again.
Yeah.
Why he's suddenly
because in
super
a
obsessed.
very recent episode, you had them just sort of hanging out whilst brewing beer and Bender.
Yeah.
And it was just
Yeah.
them as friends, and it's nice. It's like, hey, they're co-workers and they're friends and they enjoy each other's company and they just hang out sometimes.
Yeah, there's
and then
no,
back
like,
to this,
tension
and
or anything.
Fry's
It's
just
just-
hassling Leela all the time.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's a
think that's
massive step
symptom
back,
of the
isn't
fact
it?
that I think it's a symptom of being written by very different people, right? And the elements of the character interactions they want to
Yeah.
use.
Get exaggerated.
So this writer wants to use the
Yeah.
Fry and Leela thing a bit more, so
Yeah.
it comes out in this episode.
And they want to stretch that relationship out over seasons. Like it's very much a long story arc, so they need to hit certain points over the seasons. This is where we continue it. This is
Yeah.
where they come
Yeah.
together for an episode, and then we can just let that relax for a while and bring it back a season down the line.
But you can also use that as a strong point, that the fact that it's kind of out of nowhere can be how it feels for like Leela
Sure.
to be suddenly, hey, we've had this good friendship. Why are you trying to like now
Yeah.
out of nowhere kind
Yeah.
of come out and be like, let's go on a date. Let's come into my sex dungeon. It's not a
Wait,
dungeon.
time.
Yeah.
Sex
It's
dungeon.
close. It's close.
I do want to say
Fry can't afford a
that
dungeon.
moment feels quite out of character for Fry, and
Yeah.
also it conforms to this thing I really dislike, which is when characters act completely out of character just to set up a gag. Because Fry says to Leela, "Oh look, I've set up a time-proof booth for us, and I want to share it with you." "Ooh, let me see your
Yeah, That seems like an Amy
There's
response.
no way
to me.
you've set up a time-proof chamber.
Yeah.
And then it's all scuzzy and it's very clearly designed for sex and he has a sleazy line to say and it's like, oh, okay. Because elsewhere it's always been that Fry's been trying to win Leela's heart. This implies he's after something else.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of
different
like,
heart.
it felt like a page out of like goofy Animal House, like geek perving, which was really
Yeah.
out of character for Fry. And when they've had so many of these episodes where they've had all these really nice emotional moments, for him to suddenly be like, "Who? I'm a dweeb, but I'm also a bit of a sexual predator."
Yeah, I mean,
it was a real weird
do
step.
Steer into it. Like Fry is very whiny, nice guy. Why
Yeah.
would she like me? And I think,
Yeah.
like, I don't remember an episode where he is this kind of dogged about
Not
it. So
No.
Like,
Yeah.
he's
I can think
so
of one other
persistent
gag.
on all fronts.
It's
Yeah.
when they're trying to find Flexo, I think, and he goes to the underwear drawer and is like rifling through it, and she's like, "Why are you checking in my underwear drawer?" Well, he wasn't here 5 minutes ago, so I thought I'd check now, and that was
And
kind of
also
funny.
another,
Yeah,
another point
yeah,
on
yeah.
that is that whenever there are fleeting moments where Fry will have a bit more of that sleazy tone, like he asked Leela for luck, like a kiss on the cheek, she just gives him a kiss, and then he goes, "No, I meant tongue luck." But Leela's response is always just to sigh and move on and shake it off. So the idea
But
that
how does
she's
Leela
actually
feel when she does that?
But he also does, like, after, as soon as they're pronounced man and wife, he goes for that kiss. Like,
Yeah.
I understand completely why Leela socks him one in the next time skip. Because, like, she is not into... And he grabs her and he's like, you know,
Well,
it's one of those
it's
swinging...
It's his wife now.
Yes.
I was going to say,
He knows
you
he's
knew
only a
it.
couple of
Finally.
seconds before it falls flat.
Let me lay him on it.
He's just thinking,
Yeah, it's-
finally this happened. Of course. It was a
It
matter
just
of
feels
time.
a little bit inconsistent to his character. I think is kind of the
Yeah.
point. I
Yeah.
do agree
Yeah,
with that we want to root for Fry because
Yes.
we understand at his heart he's a nice guy,
person,
not
yeah.
a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually a genuine human being who really cares for Leela. He's just a bit stupid and insensitive and doesn't know how to express it in a non-gross way.
What's Fry's moral here at the end? Because we've raised some interesting issues. So Fry is told by Bender, sometimes you just don't get what you want. Fair enough. You didn't necessarily learn, hey, this might be making Leela feel really uncomfortable, and if you care about her, maybe don't do that.
Yeah,
You
because
didn't
we
learn
go
that,
back
but-
to that well later on anyway.
Well, that kind of
Like,
makes him the
they're-
victim, which is just like a weird way to go when
Does
to make you feel
Fry
bad for
learn a
Fry
lesson?
about it.
I don't know, because what does he learn from having his message in the sky, the one thing? It's positioned as a sad moment, and I remember feeling sad the first time I saw it. But what does he learn from that? He did win her over, and he knows how, and now
They
it's
also
gone.
undercut it though, right? They undercut it with the Harlem Globetrotters whistle,
Yeah.
right? So it's
It
not
might
as
have been the
poignant
whistle
as
the
it-
whole time.
I mean, I was going to say that one of the things he learns is that he doesn't need to do a grand gesture to win Leela's heart. But in the end, he writes a freaking opera, and that's what wins her again. So he does. So what is he learning?
Is that what does it? Because they get together finally in like the wild green yonder, right?
I haven't got that far.
Fair enough.
Oh, okay.
Get back to us.
I feel conflicted about this because, I mean, my kind of thesis was that Fry needs to express himself to Leela and then leave it to her to kind of figure out how she feels. He can't like pressure her into figuring out because obviously she's very conflicted enough to have a like long conversation with Zoidberg about, I do really like him, but also this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And so when he does say, when he makes the opera, it's just about how he feels about
It's
her.
not impressive.
Exactly.
It's not
there to
Right.
impress her. It's frank. But I feel like with that in mind, keeping the "I love you, Leela" at the end would have made my point stronger. And now I'm annoyed at the episode because it's just a statement. And then, you know, and it would also serve the point that no, a grand romantic gesture will not automatically win you someone.
The thing is, it does, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the time slip,
Yeah.
it does work on her. So it's
Here's a
very
question I feel
strange.
here's a question I feel is somewhat important. Why doesn't Fry tell Leela about it? Because he says, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And she says, "See what?" And he says, "Nothing." Why? Is it because he doesn't think she'll believe him, or is
Believe
it
her?
because he figures
Him?
maybe this isn't appropriate? Maybe that wasn't appropriate. Maybe he did learn his
Hope
lesson.
the latter, but
I feel like it's the former. Like I
is the
feel
former.
with the ending in that way, and with the sad whistle and things like that. It's like Ellie was saying earlier about Fry being the nice guy to whom like nice things just never happen. When he's like, I did this and this, and it's almost like, I guess nice guys always finish last, even if you
Just a little
do something
unsophisticated,
amazing,
but-
like write a message in the sky with stars. But yeah, really, it shouldn't be reinforcing that like Fry as emotional victim.
Yeah.
Status
I
should
agree with that
be doing
because I
something
think
with it.
Futurama has a little bit of a patchy relationship with relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does quite well. Other times, it really misses the mark. So I think it's probably
Well, it's
what
so
they're going
great
for.
a lot of the time is the problem. It's really, really fucking good a lot of the time. That's the issue. And then so when you have something like this, which is just a total weird like sidestep, it's just so inconsistent with the quality.
Do you know what
And I
is a
think
great gesture that Fry does is when he finds out who Leela's parents are, and he fucking runs back to the sewers in spite of the danger that's there, in spite of the fact he's been banished. He runs back to make sure that Leela doesn't make a terrible mistake. That shows how much he cares and is a cool gesture. And that episode ends with Leela hugging her parents and Fry just looking on, happy that it all worked out.
Yeah.
which is the Fry that we love.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's the Fry that we love.
Oh.
Speaking of loving, which episode did you love more? Was it? See, I've just got segues out the arse. It's going to get better and better. I won't.
You meant to stand on it, Sean.
I will stand on top, proud of this segue.
Why am I going anywhere?
And this is the segue that never actually goes out of the segue. It stays in this moment right
I
now.
love the fact that you every time I've done this with you, you mention the segue after you've done it, which then requires you to
Undercuts
segue
the
out of
segue?
your discussion of how good the segue is.
He's very
I'm
good
the
on the
master of the
segue.
segue from the segue. So,
Who should we start with?
right. So let's go. It's either Insane in the Mainframe, our current winner, or this episode here. Time keeps on slipping. You know what? Because she can barely breathe at the moment. Let's start with Ellen.
Insane in the Mainframe still has to win for me. Mainly because the lesson of this episode, I'm not quite sure. It's important for Fry, I guess, but the ending doesn't quite clinch his growth as a person. The jokes are great one-liners, but I feel like in terms of jumping from joke to joke to joke, Insane in the Mainframe works so much better. Or a lot of the jokes just land more for me. Sorry, it's Insane in the Mainframe for me.
I'm going to concur. I think that there's fun in this episode, and I love a Farnsworth-centric episode, but this has a few flaws which kind of bring it down a few notches, and there's not much to fault in Inside the Mainframe. It's just a really well-crafted episode that is hilarious at the same time.
Paul?
Which Paul?
Oh, well.
I think I made it quite clear
Podcast
which
over.
Paul I was talking to.
The handsome one.
Fight!
The smart
Do
one.
you mean you, Sean?
Yeah, me. Absolutely.
Go
prettiest
again.
The
Paul.
unspoken Paul.
The honorary Paul.
Paul is silent in
I'll go
Sean.
because
Someone has to.
Speaking of segues, Paul.
Yeah, in a recent OGT episode, we were talking about finding plot holes in movies and how how useful a practice that is. We sort of concluded that it kind of happens when you're not as invested in something as you should or maybe could be. And I realized halfway through this episode, I was just sitting there thinking about one very particular plot hole in that, or it's not even a plot hole really. The idea that everyone goes on as normal without any memory of time going forward, and then they'll just forget where what was going on once time has skipped forward. But occasionally, for the purpose of a joke, they'll be in the same place that they were the day before, like with the circus going through, like as if they'd just had been standing there in the circus. And then I was like, well, that's a really petty point. Why am I even dwelling on that? And I thought, it's because I'm not actually that into this episode. It had a few good laughs, but I found myself, I had the time to between laughs to think about stupid petty shit like that. Whereas Insane in the Mainframe had it was just joke after joke, amazing characters. It was a real barnstormer. There's no contest really. It has to be Insane in the Mainframe.
Other Paul.
Insane in the Mainframe. It's insane in the brain. It's got to be insane in the mainframe. It's really funny. There's like a lot of really cool. I like the way the plot goes. There's so many different ways in which they get comedy out of it. The whole court sequence is great. Bender acting crazy inside the asylum. The logistics and fellow inmates of an insane robot asylum. There's so much opportunity there for jokes. Yeah, I love Bender being Napoleon. I'm not, guys.
It's a clean sweep because Roberto, to me, is still and will forever be one of the best introductions of a Futurama character. We were talking about this, Ellen and myself, before. Like, is it based off someone? I don't really... It could be. It's someone's maniacal brainchild.
I'd be remiss if I didn't point this out, but his head is shaped like a cock.
Yep, well...
I never thought of that.
I don't think you guys mentioned that, and it's all I could see as I rewatched the episode today.
Big cock-headed Roberto.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Insane in the Mainframe. It's to date one of, if not my favorite current Futurama episode up until this point. So it's going to be a...
Well, for me, of course, the Luck of the Friarish actually was my vote.
Oh.
But I'm
when
they went against each other, I'm very happy that this is still up there, though.
Very quickly, Goodman, because we asked Salt this last time we recorded this episode. Why did you guys choose this episode? Do you guys know why you picked this episode yet?
No fucking idea.
We cannot remember. We have no memory whatsoever. I think it just had a weird premise, and the ones with weird premises stick in our heads. Or maybe we were just remembering the sad whistle and Fry looking out the window and thinking that was a more tragic moment than it was.
Speaking of things that are really sad, we should get onto impressions and voices.
That was a shifty segue.
He doesn't have any others.
Joyous.
We'll see. I think we should go with any of the three Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, God.
Right. Curly.
God, I feel uncomfortable doing this.
Well, let's start with you, Goodman.
Well, I was talking to Paul about this, and I did want to do the Curly Joe laugh, but I heard that Paul did the Curly Joe laugh already, so I'm now only left with attempting an African American accent.
No, we can both simultaneously do the Curly Joe laugh on 3.
Okay, yes. I love
say
these.
simultaneously.
Okay, this is going to work out perfectly, I assure everyone involved. 3, 2, 1. That sounded absolutely flawless.
Horrifying. I mean, in a great way.
Thank you for horrifying.
Maybe you can work out into the theme tune.
I don't know who the other guy's name is, but man, you gotta get into an implosion.
That was Curly Joe.
It was Curly Joe.
Curly Joe's not the one who does the mocking laugh.
no!
I didn't want
Bubblegum
to
Tape.
make you look stupid in front of your friends.
No,
It's
he's
not
the
Bubblegum
leader.
Tape
It's
either,
the third
the
guy.
other one.
Yeah.
Third
one,
one.
I forget.
The third Hemsworth brother.
Yeah.
No one knows.
That's pretty Hemsworth, brother.
Oh, he's still such an attractive guy.
We got
That's
a lot
the
of Luke
thing.
Hemsworth fan here.
He's so handsome still.
I was talking about the third one who no one knows the name of.
It's Luke.
Is it?
Yeah,
Luke.
It's
He's so
Chris,
nice
Liam,
and
and Luke.
handsome.
Oh, shit.
Hey, Luke Hemsworth. Hope you're listening.
He's not.
He's not.
Do you want to do
Oh,
an impression?
God. I don't want to do an impersonation.
Look,
That's
when you
how the episode
sign
ends.
the contract, this is
Yeah.
what you signed up for.
The only other characters in this for the
While
first
you think
time.
of it, I'll do the thing.
Do a Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Do an Atomic Superman.
The Spider Guy.
He doesn't have a voice. He just goes, what? And then
No, he goes,
explodes.
hello.
Oh,
Hello. Hi there.
hello. Just sounds like a smoked pack a day. All right. On to the next. On to you, Phil.
Maybe he did. He hated being a spider. He was afraid of spiders.
Well, he's got eight arms to smoke 8 cigarettes.
That's right. Professor, you know I only save the good algebra for the final quarter.
That was funky.
Pretty close.
Funky enough to be a globetrotter?
No.
Guys, I reckon that we've about exhausted everything that Time Keeps on Slippin' is
Great.
going to give to us.
We've exhausted 2 pools, at the very least.
Sweet Clyde.
So
Sweet Clyde, that's right. Thank
Sweet
you.
Clyde.
Thank you.
Thank goodness.
So let's
Oh,
first
thank
of all
God I can
thank the
finish.
Paul Salt and Paul Goodman from One Good Thing.
Thank you.
I feel
Thank
like
you.
Thanks for having us.
one of
Always
you
a
guys
pleasure.
needs to go to bed and one of you needs to get up for the day.
Yes.
Before you do that, one of you needs to tell our audience where they can find your guys' stuff.
You get our podcast on all good podcast places like iTunes, Stitcher, some of the others probably. You can contact us on Twitter at OGT Pod, Facebook /OGT pod, you can send us an email at ogtpod@gmail.com. Be lovely to hear from you, whoever you are.
And if you'd like to get in contact with us, email babybeardmedia@gmail.com. One of us will reply to you, I'm sure.
Get in touch on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. It's all at babybeardmedia. And like the polls, we'd love to hear from you.
Or if you'd like, you can just move the stars for us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Works every time.
We're in
For me
similar,
instantly.
we're in similar places: Stitcher, iTunes, Breaker. And if you find the content there and you like it, why not give us some thumbs, some stars, a review, or in the tradition of long lost Josh.
I mean, he's not dead.
I mean, he's not. He's dead to us.
Dead to us.
A few basketballs painted like Earth.
And if you don't want to do any of those things, the very least you can do is join us next week, where we will be tackling I Dated a Robot with the incomparable Lucy Liu.
Oh, there's a bizarre bit of synchronicity. Our next episode of our podcast is Ballistic, X versus Sever, so we've all got some Lou coming.
Look,
Let's all run to the loo.
Until that time, I have been Sean.
I'm Ellen.
I'm Phil.
I'm Paul.
Skip to the Lou would be a great name for a podcast about Lucy Liu.
And
I'm
that
Paul.
has been Paul.
Thank
There
you.
we go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Skip to the Lou.
Ooh, we almost forgot. And remember, the one good thing about having the polls on your podcast is that they can one-up you in the eternal game of who has more musical talent. It's not us. So stick around to hear the lovely gif we receive from those smug bastards. No, but really, check out the One Good Thing podcast. They deserve your ears, damn it. They really deserve it.
Are here with Imperial Chair, and we're talking Futurama with Baby Beard. Yeah, time keeps slipping, we haven't got long, cause we wrote this song with chronic tongues. It's the end of the world, well, I didn't know. The Globetrotters told me it must be so. Yeah, they can battle ball and solve a scientific problem, but I told them that you're fucking with any continuum. And don't try to beat them, cause they got skills that make your Jordans and your buzzing or your bronze stand still like damn. These suckers got fire and they're crazy like a sci-fi show. Yeah, they came down to earth to beat us a people, told us our bodies were weak and feeble. Save us, Professor, deliver us from evil with a team of super mutant people. What about Fi? He wishes he could fly. Don't you want the cameras light up the sky? He fancies Leela, but she's the leader, and she'd rather put a stick into shit in her eye. Bender, remember, wanted to be a member, an honorary trotter request, return to sender, and Zoidberg. Anyway, he may be insane, but the prof had a plan to beat him at that game with the Superman. Who's counting anyway? Follow these steps and it's time to play. Step 1, get a ship. Step 2, go to space. Step 3, push chronotons in your face. Step 4, ignore the damage you've done to the galaxy's equilibrium. Steps 5 and 6 are nice and quick. Inject babies till you feel sick. Natum, that's the colour that you're looking for. Step 7, find your people boys a better uniform. All well and good, but what's your plan when time is torn asunder? Is it bury your head in the foot of your bed as reality goes under? And if everything you tried has come to nothing, well, why not write a ditty for the show that you've been loving? Cause if there's one good thing about being alive, it's loving friends and doing podcasts from way on the other side of the planet, and maybe catching Futurama if there's time with Sean and Phil and James and anyone else who might inspire a smile. Zoidberg, z, z, z.